Welcome back to Are You Smarter Than a Libertarian? The only show where the government gets cross-examined and you, hopefully, learn why your rights matter more than your feelings. Today we're cracking open the Fifth Amendment, the one people love to quote in movies, but they rarely understand. No, it's not just for mob bosses or shady politicians, although they do use it the most. Just look at any news report. From grand juries to Miranda rights to please don't bulldoze my grandma's house, the Fifth Amendment is a buffet of civil liberties. So grab your coffee, your pocket constitution, and maybe a lawyer. Things get a little too spicy for you, but I'll keep the heat down a little bit. Five protections and a partridge in a pear tree. How'd you like my singing? The Fifth Amendment is like a legal Swiss Army knife. 5 blades, 1 amendment. Here's how each part slices through tyranny. The first one is the grand jury clause. Before the government can charge you with a serious federal crime, they need a grand jury. Basically, a group of your fellow citizens who preview the case. Think of it as TSA pre-check for justice. You just don't have to pay the $50 a year. If the prosecution can't convince them, the case doesn't fly. So no, the feds can't just decide you're guilty and toss you in a cell. They need a stamp of public approval first. Now here's the clause everyone's heard of, the double jeopardy clause. You know how Netflix asks, are you still watching? The government has to ask, are you still prosecuting? Answer, no. Once you're found not guilty, the state doesn't get a second bite at the apple. You beat the charges, it's over. They can't drag you back in and try you again just because they don't like losing. That's not justice. That's a sore loser with a badge. Can they bring you in for something else? Yes, they can. Now we all know this one, the self-incrimination clause. You don't have to help them build the case against you. No forced confessions, no trick questions. No, just talk to us off the record. It's like when a cop pulls you over, why'd you pull me over? Make them tell you why they stopped you. This is where I plead the fifth comes from, and it applies to everyone, not just wise guys in courtroom dramas. So if you've ever heard, just answer a few questions. The correct answer is, lawyer, please. The due process clause. We see a lot of that going on in the news today, particularly tied into the 14th Amendment, which I'll get to in a couple weeks. Before they can take your life, liberty, or property, the government has to play fair. They don't like playing fair. They have to give you a notice, a hearing, and real evidence. They can't just ghost you with a foreclosure notice or throw you in jail with zero explanation like you're in a Netflix dystopia. The taking clause. This is an interesting one. It basically is kind of like eminent domain. In fact, it is eminent domain. If the government wants your land, they better cut a check. Not IOUs, not coupons, fair market value. This clause protects you from waking up one day and finding out your backyard is now a dog park for the community. That's a cool idea. Now, pay me my money. How we got to this point? British tyranny, but make it foundational. Let's take it back. The fifth didn't just fall from liberty heaven. It was forged in the fires of British overreach and bloodshed and rebellion. The Magna Carta of 1215. King John was out in England imprisoning nobles without cause. The baron said, hold up, your majesty. Try that with due process. That was the first spark. The idea that rulers can't just lock people up because they feel like it. Oh, your feelings got hurt. The Star Chamber. This is This was like Judge Judy meets a torture dungeon. You'd get summoned in secret, no lawyer, no jury, and they would squeeze out confessions. Literally. The Spanish took this idea and made the Inquisition out of it. Americans saw that and said, we'll pass. Hence, no self-incrimination. Property rights. We all love property rights. In old Britain, land meant power, and the crown could yank it whenever it wanted. Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke said, no, your land is your life. That led to the taking clause. The Enlightenment was huge in shaping the Constitution in this country. So if the government wants to plow your house down for a yoga studio, the Constitution says, you better pay me my money. The Supreme Court, where the Fifth got its swagger. Let's take a field trip to the mid-19th century and some questionable Supreme Court logic. This is a good one. The grand jury clause, like we talked about earlier. Perato v. California, 1848. California said, we'll skip the grand jury, thanks. SCOTUS said, cool, states don't have to use them. Translation, federal crimes equals a grand jury. States, that's optional. So much for equal rights, right? Now, we're going to move on to 2002. United States v. Cotton. Oops, the grand jury forgot to include a key detail in the drug indictment. SCOTUS shrugged and said, no harm, no foul. Imagine getting charged with a crime, but the paperwork's incomplete and the court's like, close enough, good enough for government work, moving right along. See, that would be very injurious to people. Now some cases for the double jeopardy clause, which we all love, and this is not double jeopardy on TV. Blockberger v. United States, 1932. If two charges have different legal elements, you can be prosecuted for both. It's like ordering tacos and burritos. They use the same stuff, but technically they're different. So yes, the government can come at you twice if the laws are worded just right. Heath v. Alabama, 1985. Dude commits a crime in one state, flees to another. Both prosecute him. SCOTUS says, totally cool. States are like separate players in a co-op game. Translation, double jeopardy. Only if it's the same government. And that's where you have the states being separate from the federal. The self-incrimination clause. We have all heard this. When cops slap the cuffs on you, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Yada, 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 yada. Miranda v. Arizona, 1966. Landmark case here. Ernesto Miranda confessed during interrogation because no one told him he didn't have to. Supreme Court said, nope, you got to inform people of their rights. That's where you get the you have the right to remain silent, yada, yada, yada. All thanks to one guy who got played by the system and he won. Katzinger v. United States, 1972. Government offered immunity to get testimony, but the defendant didn't trust the deal. SCOTUS said, don't worry, we pinky swear not to use it against you. Spoiler alert, immunity doesn't mean safety. It means they want your info without giving you any real protection. See, that's how the government works. It's all about taking, whether it's your money, your time, your land, or your life. The due process clause, we see this going on all over the world today in this country. It's kind of interesting. Bowling v. Sharp, 1954. Segregation in D.C. schools was challenged. SCOTUS said, 14th Amendment does not apply here. But hey, we've got the 5th. So they stretched due process like yoga pants on a fat woman to outlaw segregation. Points for creativity, at least. Matthew V. Eldridge, 1976. Guy loses disability benefits without a hearing. SCOTUS invents a balancing test. How serious is the loss versus how annoying is this hearing going to be? The court basically said, we'll decide what's fair. Case by case by case. We call that bureaucratic roulette. The taking clause. Eminent domain. It's a really interesting thing to look at. We're going to go with the first one is Pennsylvania Coal Company v. Mahan, 1922. Regulation prevented a company from mining under a house. Court said that regulation went too far. It's a taking. Listen, if a rule wrecks your property value, the government owes you. And I think that's fair, that the government should pay you. Kelo v. City of New London, 2005. I remember this case. City used eminent domain to bulldoze homes for private development. SCOTUS said, it's cool. It's economic progress. Yes. Your house can be taken for a mall. Still bitter? So is most of America right now, but for other reasons as well. So, does the Fifth Amendment still matter in 2025? You bet it does. The Fifth isn't ancient history. It's a warning label on government power and abuse and corruption. And that's what it is. Cops still forgot or skipped, Miranda writes, hoping you'll just spill everything anyway. And they'll be like, well, we didn't Mirandize him. And that's how they get around that stuff. States and feds still play tag team with double jeopardy, except it's not tag team, it's a 2-on-1 handicap match. And it's when they want a conviction bad enough that they'll do a 2-on-1 handicap match. And don't get comfy in your home. Eminent domain could come for you if someone wants a luxury parking garage. Look what's happening in Cranberry, New Jersey. No need for affordable housing, but they want to seize farmland. Yeah, congratulations, that's government overreach. Now, here's the libertarian take. Rights aren't suggestions. Here's your liberty wake-up call. Grand juries, let the people decide if charges are even legit. That's crowdsourced justice, not the top-down justice. Self-incrimination. Cops are not your friends. Don't give them any rope to hang you or free ammo to shoot you with, because they will shoot you. Due process. If the government wants to wreck your life, make them follow every rule. Be litigious. Find competent lawyers. Make sure they do their due diligence and follow due process. Taking clause. Public good sounds noble until you're living in your car because Starbucks needed your lot for more oat milk lattes. The Fifth is your legal firewall. Without it, you're one accusation away from ruin. Don't just plead the Fifth, understand it. And that's a wrap on the Fifth Amendment, folks. It's not just for mob trials, it's a manual for surviving the state with your dignity and most likely your life and property intact. If this hits you in the liberty feels, follow the show, leave a review, or tattoo due process across your bicep if you want to. I personally won't do that. I have tattoos already. I'm going to get some more. Next time, the Sixth Amendment, where you get your lawyer, your trial, and your shot at justice. Unless you're on TikTok, then they ban you for making observations. As always, subscribe for more freedom and leave a comment below and share. As always, stay free, stay informed, and stay accountable.